some things may not be able to document because it is hidden, and it's purposely hidden.
Understood, but the point is there would be, if there was such a secret program, people who think sensibly like you and I all think would have an enormous, like if you were working, let's say you're working in Boeing,
Yeah.
and your boss says, you know, your boss may have evil intent, okay, but your boss comes to you and says, please engineer this thing to spray stuff we won't tell you about. Somebody's got to engineer it, and you're the engineer. Maybe if there's 10 engineers who are asked to do the same thing, maybe 8 of them are going to say, oh yes, I'll just do that. But pretty good chances are 1 or 2 of them are going to say, hold on, doesn't smell right to me. I'm
Like,
going to
for
take
example-
let me just finish. I'm going to take the PDF of this order and go blow it to WikiLeaks.
Yeah.
And that's the underlying reason I think there's nothing here.
Okay.
Because you cannot, in order to do the kind of thing you're talking about, you'd have to have thousands of people, not one of whom ever talked.
Well, I'll send you whistleblower information.
Cool.
Because if that's
Okay.
what you're looking for, like, I just want to make sure we know what it is we're
or
sending
again,
you.
long-term, I mean, there are lots of sites that do long-term monitoring of environmental toxins. So there's long-term monitoring of water pollution,
Yep.
lots of it. There's long-term monitoring of airborne dust, lots of it. And they're open programs run by normal scientists who have no reason to lie, with lots of checks and balances, that publish these things. And none of them show any increase in these chemicals.
Well, in What in the World Are We Spraying, they do show it. And that's why I would like you to watch the whole thing.
So isn't it right, I mean, again, I haven't watched it, but I've talked to the person who made it, and he showed me what he thought he had.
Yes.
And what they thought they had was this 1 or 2 assays
Yeah.
without any continuous sequence, without any clarity about where they came from.
It's not the evidence
It's
that
completely
David
unconvincing.
has.
It's to be
Okay.
honest, laughable.
I want you to clarify all these things
Okay.
on camera so that people
I'm happy
understand.
to.
Because
But just to be clear,
exactly.
there are people whose job it is, for various ways, and I mean, another thing is, it's hard to hide things when monitoring is cheap, right?
Right.
So just collecting water, and the point is there are all sorts of companies, for all sorts of reasons, just in Calgary alone, that monitor Calgary water quality, and they keep long-term records. So if there really was an increase in saline, you'd see it. In order to keep all those people quiet, you need to have like Gestapo in the street. and so the issue is, why would I believe somebody? So the answer is about that movie. Somebody came to me who obviously was trying to twist and deceive. You know what they did to my words. He showed me this one assay. They said they didn't have any others. It wasn't even clear whether it was from the soil or the water, which makes a really big difference in interpreting it. And he's making this extraordinary claim. So to me, my view is that, you know, since if this was really happening, you would expect to see in all these long-term monitoring programs, of which there's many run by all these different cities and environmental groups and whatnot, you'd see increases, right? There are lots of environmental groups that don't trust the government, so they have independent monitoring, right? Yes. You'd see increases in these chemicals. Not a single such increase has been reported to me. Could have been true, but I haven't seen a single paper from a kind of normal, regular, we monitor water that says, oh, we've seen more barium in the water. Okay. Haven't seen one.
Okay.
And so that's the basis on which I personally find it hard to believe this is real.
But that's why you're helping us.
Yeah.
Because you're giving us clarification as to what to show ourselves, other people, you, in order to...
I mean, actually, let's go one back example to connect back to it in terms of what's hard and easy.
Sure.
So if we're talking about common elements like aluminum or barium, those are really easily measured.
Yes.
So if that was true, it would be just essentially, to me, impossible is a big word, but close to impossible to imagine you could do that at large scale and not have it be noticed, because there's all these independent monitoring. The stuff that, Estrella? Esther was mentioning about, conceivable use of odd organic neurotransmitters we don't know about so well that might affect behavior. That is something that actually would be harder to catch because there's less consistent monitoring. There's a very large number of biological chemicals we don't have systematic monitoring. So if somebody was introducing a little bit of something into the food, it wouldn't necessarily be caught because we don't have a systematic way to monitor.
I know a lot of doctors that talk about the non-lethal way too.
Understood.
Yep, for
so
sure.
That's how just to give you a sense of how I see it. Whereas the main chemtrails claims involve normal chemicals that we monitor anyway in thousands of monitoring sites. And so that's why I don't find one person giving me something that they paid for in a single data, not connected to anything else. It just seems silly.
But
It seems, I'm not necessarily bad intention. I mean, people want to protect their kids. That's great.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't seem
and in both in the
sensible.
States and in Canada,
Yeah.
that government agencies and others have that like raw, like real-time data that we download and often download. And so there's government ones and private ones, and that's like available online, and you can pull the data and look at geological textbooks and see, you know, what may be an average and what may seem different, and use that, you know, to inform your decision. But I echo David. I think taking bigger data sets, so not, as you mentioned, not just the average, and looking and in statistics and in these probability things that we work in, the more data we have, the more likely we are to see the signal for the noise.
Let's go back. You got to go in a second. Let's go back to like the one example. So actually, a lot of, not my work so much, but work of my very close colleagues at Carnegie Mellon has been on air pollution.
Okay.
There are, one of the things we had in Pittsburgh, an EPA super site. So this is a site that does the top quality monitoring of local air pollution. There are 50 people, roughly, a large number of people who work on it in a normal civilian environment. It's extremely hard to keep stuff secret. I mean, you know, inquisitive grad students, lots of professors, etc. We measure all sorts of stuff in the air, basically, all these funny trace chemicals and particles and so on. And why are we doing that? To try and figure out how much air pollution is killing us. We have a very real problem. Like I said, tens of thousands of people are being killed by air pollution. That's not a conspiracy theory, that's normal science. And so we look at the changes in the amount of different pollutants at hospital admissions and correlate them. That's how we know how many people are being killed.
Yeah.
So during days with more air pollution, more people are admitted to hospital and there are more fatalities. That's how we know it.
Yeah.
So with all that monitoring, if there was really large quantities of some of these new elements in, you'd see it easily.
Yeah.
I think we can all appreciate your perspective in helping us bring the level of our game up a notch in order to be able to enter the minds and you know, belief systems of yourselves. And so that, I think that's, you know, something we just, or maybe I speak for myself, I tend to believe things more easily, but I can appreciate where you're coming from, and I highly respect it. And I think if we up our game and give you that, what you require, especially with your commitment to get on board and dedicate your life to exposing it, that's a wonderful.
Of
course.
That's a big if.
Of course, like that was all.
Yeah.
Can we get on record too that you probably are really tired of getting some emails that are threatening? I can't believe that. I'm very sorry to hear that. But you know,
just delete them.
Exactly. So you know, we are appreciative of you giving us all audience so that we can tell the community, okay, look.
Yes.
Okay, quit with the ugliness for first.
Yeah.
Well,
but second of all,
provocateurs.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much for saying that. But,
Yeah.
So actually, we do pretty much have to wrap up, but this has been great. And I feel like there's been, you know, it's always hard with just me sitting up and doing more talking, but there's been a fair amount of people giving their opinions, and I'd be willing to do this again or to find other people to talk to, so.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving forward,
Yeah.
do we have a commitment from all of us to take on the, I would quote unquote, burden of proof, or the honor of proof?
Honor. Yeah.
It's a gift, right? It really is a gift. This opposition and this resistance that we have around us to learn from is totally a gift. Do we have a commitment from you as well to watch your video that you're on? Not your video, but the video that you're in.
He doesn't have to watch
it. Or
I guess I'd rather spend my hour talking with real people.
Right.
Like I talked with the guy who made the video. I was there. I mean, Hollie watched the whole thing. I've seen little clips, and it's clear that he's deliberately intercutting for effect. So why am I going to waste my time watching it?
I guess what I'm getting at is moving forward, and you talked about building a bridge from both sides. We all have our own individual perspectives, but we seem to kind of have a group perspective, and you have your scientific perspective. Is there something that you can do on your part moving forward, or when we convene again, that you can maybe let us know that you're willing to do, just to maybe broaden your perspective a little bit? And so that we can maybe have interesting.
So within time limits, I'd be willing to do some of, like, this question about atmospheric deposition just came up. Some of you may know there's a geoengineering Google group you can subscribe to. And so actually somebody just raised this question on Google group, and Ken Caldera went and found some papers that had these long